2508, the 6th year of the reign of our beloved Emperor Karl Franz. The dwarves of Carach Isa and Carach Hím opened their guarded passes. Thus it was possible for everyone from the humblest farmer of Britonia to the wealthiest merchant of Marienburg to travel to the lands beyond. For a fair amount of gold, even the armed forces of mercenary captains and noblemen were now allowed through. And so it happened that many folk wandered from the towns and the cities of the Empire, Bretonia, and even far Kislev, to make their luck in the land now known as the Border Princes. But not only men were seeking their luck. Bands of dwarves and hordes of greenskins travelled there as well. And soon many tales were heard about the small realms and petty kingdoms founded and raised within the span of a few years. Let me then tell you the tale about these mighty empires.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you very much for joining us again. Thanks so much for Owen coming on the show today. Hey mate, how you going?
Good morning. Yeah, how are you? Everybody okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Very well. Thank you very much, Owen.
Good to see you.
And if you did recognize that voice, it was the voice for the introductory video today. It's an old one, actually. That's going back many years ago, I think now, for a Mighty Empires segment I think we did for old Marcel in Germany for the podcast. Yeah.
It was. I can remember doing that one, yeah. And that's a nice little bit. But for a while, it took me like, who is that? You know, who is that?
But of course, Owen's the voice of many Crown of Command productions. I'm so lucky to have such wise words from Wales. Or the voice of Warhammer, as we say.
You go back quite a few years now as well doing it, because I've been going through the backlog of your Crown and Command podcast, and Owen's a feature of that very early on.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been doing it for some time now.
Until I got, I think I got Lewis to do one for the Tyranids, and I think Owen got really pissed off about that. Lewis never made an appearance ever again after that.
Oh, that's right, yeah. You find it in the sea now, somewhere, you know, that's right. It's a strange one. I how it came about, really. I can remember during the pandemic having a lot of time on my hands and actually just going on long sort of walks with my dog and coming across the Crown of Command, really, and I started listening to it. And I don't know how we got in contact, Josh, but we ended up doing a little like, you know, sort of how I got into a wargaming type video, didn't we? And it went from there, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, I discovered you on Twitter when it was called Twitter, because I saw the name Owen Staton, and then I thought, I'm sure this is the same guy who was on the D6 Generation.
Yeah.
You made such an impression on me on D6 Generation. I thought, is this the same person? So I looked into it, and it was, and I thought, wow, okay. And that's right. I found your YouTube channel through the Twitter, and I realized when I listened to your voice, this is Owen, the same guy that was on the D6 Generation podcast that is sadly now ended. I only realized that the other day. They actually closed up the podcast a couple of years ago, I think now.
Yeah, they still do. I'm actually seeing Russ next month. I'm getting together with him in Florida, which is going to be. I'm really looking forward to.
Wow.
I know that they ended up doing like live D&D games. Things like that, you know, it changed the format over the years, but back in the day, that was a big channel, wasn't it? It had a lot of huge before sort of podcasts were podcasts, really. And again, that came about in a weird way. I can remember I entered a poem competition. Oh, I don't think it was a poem competition. It was a competition they did and I entered a poem with me reading it essentially, and I won the competition. And I can remember that it was when I was in the police. I was working as a police officer, and I used to listen to it going to work, and they read my name out, and I was absolutely chuffed.
it's really nice that you still you're still in touch with those guys, and I know I've seen that you've been to the US and visited them before, so it's really good that you still keep contact, mate, after all those years. That's lovely that you've formed a strong friendship with those guys.
Yeah, they're such nice people as well, and it's just, it was a moment in time, really. I mean, we did that for a couple of years, and I did some hosting with them as well. And like you, it was all times of the day, because their time difference was massively different to what we were doing. So and they used to have me in as the third chair sometimes, and I really enjoyed it. But they played so many different games. They played lots of board games and things like that, and I didn't really have much experience in that, because I was mainly a war gamer essentially. So but the show was really good, and at its peak it was really quite a big thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I never actually heard it ever.
Really? It must have started, Jonny, back in about 2007, 2008, around then. And again, I can clearly remember just discovering podcasts about that time. It was about the first time I got a dog, and I used to spend a lot of time sort of walking in the woods, and I didn't know what podcasts were. And I found this podcast. I found there was another one. There was one called This Week in Wargaming. And there was another one. It was something like Wargaming Weekly. It was This Week in Wargaming and a Wargaming Weekly.
Right.
And E6 Generation. And I used to listen to those. And Wargaming Weekly, I can remember after about 3 or 4 episodes, the guy had a total meltdown in an episode because people were giving feedback. I remember listening to that. This is unprofessional. And he was just going like, I don't care what I'm doing is what I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me.
Oh my God.
He sort of vanished. And then This Week in Wargaming was hosted by a guy called Ken Whitehurst, who
I love that one.
I still follow him on Twitter, and every time he tweets, I always tweet him, what about This Week in Wargaming? When's it coming back? And it's been like about 15 years now. So there was him. And then the D6 Generation, but every one of their shows was about 3 or 4 hours long. It would just go on and on and on. But it was really well done, and they had really good production values, for the time.
They did.
And they were just nice people. They were just really interesting, really well. You could go. A lot of the episodes are still there, Jonny. You could go back and listen to them. But they were really, they've been gamers since the year dot. And Craig, Rafe, and Russ, and they were all like Craig went on to write a load of novels. He wrote the Western novels for like a Western role-playing game. Done the background fluff for loads of different games. Russ was just a really good gamer, but he used to own a gaming shop. And Rafe, I think he was a lawyer, and he was there at the start, and he left after a while. But again, he was just really knowledgeable, and they were really interesting, funny guys as well. Yeah, which was good.
I'll have to go back and just listen to it for sheer nostalgic value by the sounds of things, and just have a little.
Absolutely. And what happened was I won the competition, as I said, and and then I started, I don't know why, but I started doing these Words from Wales segments, which were like 10-minute segments where I would just talk about what I'd been doing, because I think it came out fortnightly. And I had no equipment, I had no mic, I had nothing like that, right? So I would literally play some music on a CD and fade it out by hand, right? And then sort of come in, hello everyone, like this, on my laptop.
Classic.
Yeah, and that was it, and it was really corny. I'd play some like Welsh choral music or like a Tom Jones track or something like that, and then just come in with a load of nonsense and go. But it's amazing how many people sort of remember that. I know you do, Josh, but every now and again it'll pop up, or someone will just drop me an email out of nowhere, just talking about the D6 generation, and it's a long time ago now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 2007's a bloody long time ago now.
Yeah. And it went on for years, and then it sort of changed as they became more successful in what they were doing. I think the podcast sort of run its course essentially, and towards the end, and Russ, who was the heart of it, really, he was just running it, but he'd run online D&D games, for example, and he would broadcast those with different players and things like that. So he kept it going for a long time. But I hadn't realised it had finished, actually. So I'm glad you told me, Josh. Otherwise, I'd embarrass myself when I see him in the Monday. When he goes like, "Have you listened to that?" I go, "Yeah, I listen all the time."
Yeah, it's a real shame because I saw it the other day and I realized it had it. Yeah, I saw because I was going through my Apple Podcasts. I usually use Spotify. Well, I went back to Apple Podcasts. I just find it a better platform to listen to podcasts generally, and it updates everything. Whereas Spotify sort of doesn't update, doesn't tell me the new episodes and stuff like that. So then I realized, wow, like I think it was 2 years ago or a year ago, they decided to wrap it up. Which I can totally understand. I mean, it was pretty hard to manage, and I think they've got, their kids are older, they've got different responsibilities now, they've got maybe different interests, and they just don't have that time to dedicate to a podcast. I think they've done their service for many years now, and entertained so many people, and I suppose you just get to a point where it becomes more of a job than anything else. So they probably just thought, we just want that time to be with our families and play games and not have to, come and talk about it every now and again.
What games did they talk about in general?
Just about anything. I mean, the thing with it was, I was mostly a Games Workshop sort of gamer. I was doing Warhammer, I was doing those type of things. Whereas I would say at the time, the Privateer Press stuff was huge.
Yes, it was. Yes,
they used to do a lot of that. It used to be a lot of War Machine and what was the other one? It was War Machine and Hordes, wasn't it? Yeah, and they used to do that. They used to do a lot of any sort of new board games they would play, or any sort of niche war games as well. Any sort of games really. Yeah. But they very rarely strayed into the sort of Games Workshop realm, which of course was my sort of thing really. So I did try and play, and they'd send me games as well to play. And Josh never does that. And
that's because he only plays one game.
I know. I've been waiting for a figure he's painted to me for about 4 years now.
Yeah, no, I'm still sitting here, mate. I've got one more to finish for you, mate. Sorry, no. Fucking excuses, mate. Excuses.
But but they play just about anything really. But they do in-depth reviews, like Russ would do these things. He had a segment called Mullin Mechanics, and it was all about the mechanics of the game they were looking at, so you would look at different systems they were using, and it sounds really dull, and it should have been awful, but it wasn't. It was actually quite good. He did a really good way of presenting it, even though it was like talking about maths and things like that, but it was done really well. And they'd review games as well, they'd review their games, and it got to the point that if they a game reviewed well with them, a company would use their quotes, they would put them on the badge on their badge. Yeah, it was really something.
Yeah,
that's great, man. That's excellent. Yeah, they were huge at the time, and they promoted, and they had like loads of guys sponsoring them. Like the what's it called again? The guy who did the big battle foam cases and stuff like that.
Cases.
I got a nice bag of that. I got a real.
Did you?
That's all to my lizard men. You'd like that? It's got like a Stegadon shape and everything. Because at the time,
like your lizard men.
He was sort of my
you not know, Josh?
I know now. He's let out his darkest secrets already. I'm going to show some evidence of that later, actually.
But at the time, it was sort of my gaming heyday, really, because at the time, a friend of mine and I, we used to go to the States to do Warhammer tournaments. And a couple of times a year, for about 3 or 4 years, we went to like Texas for the weekend and things like that. It was just sort of bonkers, really. But we would go to San Antonio in Texas, and I can remember we entered the tournament and we turned up, and they couldn't believe it. They thought we were from like Wales, Massachusetts, or wherever how you say it. Or like they had no idea we'd actually come all the way from Wales to play. Yeah. And it was mad. We'd go to Texas on the Thursday and come back on the Monday, like, with a 7-hour time difference and all that.
Amazing, Jesus.
Yeah, awesome. I can remember. I was there once, and I was outside the hotel, and my wife rang me and said, I was in Texas, right? My wife rings me and says, I've just taken the kids out and I've locked myself out of the house. And I can remember saying, love, I couldn't get any further away without getting closer. Why are you ringing me? Do you know? But I can't imagine that now, going that far for a tournament, the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
So why don't you come over here? Why don't you come here? Why don't you come to Japan?
Yeah, could have. Yeah,
you can drink some Japanese whiskey, mate. We'll have a whole like a bar set up for you, mate.
Love it. I'd love that. I would love that. A bit more than a weekend, though. I wouldn't mind. Come over like for a stay 12 hours and then fly back.
So Owen, you was a tournament player then at some point in your gaming career.
Yeah, for quite a long time. I think it was great for me, Jonny. I think. I started playing tournament in the cupboard behind me here. I've still got some old trophies. But I started playing about 2004. My kids were really small. And it was just a good excuse. They were like, we'd go about 3 or 4 times a year to different places in the UK just for the weekend, Yeah. And it was more a social thing. It was a group of about 4 or 5 of us. And we'd play Warhammer tournaments. We play Warhammer tournaments, and then Justin, my good friend Justin, and I went to San Antonio twice. We went to Memphis, Tennessee to play. But yeah, it was crazy, but really good times.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume now you're not a tournament player now anyway, or would you like to play tournaments? Is it, or is your gaming changed?
I think I've changed. I think I'm 52 now, and I find it really hard to remember rules. Like I don't know what it is, but I think what happened was I used to play Warhammer, and I would play Warhammer a lot. In that, I'd probably play most weeks, and I'd go for 3 or 4 tournaments a year, and so that was quite a lot of Warhammer. So I pretty much knew that game. But when that stopped, now to pick up a game or play any game in any sort of amount of time, I was just thinking this the other day, I find it really hard. I find it really hard. Like a lot of my friends play Malifaux, and that's just gobbledygook to me. It's just so complex that I just don't enjoy it. And I've also found that it was getting to the stage where I was playing my friends in Warhammer, and like every game was like a World Cup final, It was like unbelievable. Like there was £1 million prize money or something, and all we were doing was. So I what I've discovered about myself is I'm just a narrative gamer essentially. And if the pandemic taught me anything with gaming, is I did a lot of Rangers of Shadowdeep, and I did a lot of videos of solo gaming and things like that, and I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed it. And then from there, I've just played a bit with a friend of mine in the local club. We play, the Frostgrave and the Silver Bayonet and all those Joseph A. McCulloch games that are really simple. I've just started playing Burrows and Badgers.
Are you enjoying that?
I am. I've only played a couple of games.
But is that the new rules you've got?
The new rules, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Really
it's a great game.
That. Yeah, it's great. But stuff like that, I really enjoy. But even that, I played Burrows and Badgers, and then I came back about, I don't know, a month later to play a second game, and I totally forgot the rules. It's just, and it takes me, I don't play regularly enough to be the player. Not that I was ever a great player, but to be the player that I wanted to be on top of a game. And whereas I used to just play Warhammer, now I've got all these different games, and I'm not even a jack of all trades, really, master of none. I'm just, just a really sort of basic player on anything I do. And I think as I've got older, I've got like that. And I found that I much prefer a bit of a narrative game with no competitive edge to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely fall in that category as well.
I think when Warhammer died, and I was there till the very death, I was still trying to champion like 8th edition Warhammer when everyone else was going away from it. Yeah. And then when the Age of Sigmar came out, I desperately wanted that to succeed just so we could all get back and play games. Yeah. But I was like the only one who stayed with it. And even now, I've got the Warhammer, the Old World stuff here, and I've got 2 armies, which is something I'll talk about in a minute. I've got 2 armies painted for it, but I've never played a game.
No.
Because everyone is split into different communities, and a lot of my friends, they'll only play like 6th edition Warhammer, and I'm like, going, why? Just play the game, because you can't do that in 6th. That's a 5th rule, and all that sort of stuff just confuses me even more. So I just want to play, but I find it really hard to do. And as I was going to say, if you look around my room here, it's a mess. It's just, and there are literally thousands of figures, and I'm painting figures here now, but I've got all these figures, but I very rarely play, and that is a shame. I'm at a bit of a crossroads of my hobby life, really. I think, really am.
Oh, and I try to get in contact with the guys who are doing the Baron's War there at at what's the name, Firestorm, isn't it? Something like
That's
that.
Right, yeah. I did email me a couple of times. No, I emailed me a couple of times, and then it all sort of went quiet. But the friend said, who's a good friend of mine from the Swansea Club, he's just started getting into Baron's War. And I've got a painted army here as well. So as soon as his is up and ready, we'll get into it. I know he's entered a tournament later in the year, and he's trying to get me to come to that. But as I said, I don't know. I probably would really enjoy it, but I just don't know if I want to go back into that. It was quite a I know you both obviously play, but that sitting down with a new player every time is quite a stressful thing, isn't it?
It is.
How is this person going to play? Especially if you're high up on the tables and things like that, and it's quite a big thing, isn't it? To sort of relax and do that, really.
Yeah.
Because I've thought a few years ago, I did. I went on my own to a tournament on the south coast in Portsmouth. We used to do the Portsmouth Pillage, which is a big Warhammer tournament. And a few years ago, I decided, all right, I'm going on my own. I'm going to go down. I'm going to do it. And I went down. I played a day. I played 3 games, and it was fine. It was absolutely no issues. I enjoyed it. I went back to the hotel. I didn't have a great night's sleep, but I got up and I thought, you know what? I'm on my own. I'm just going to go home. And I rang the organizer and said, I can't make a second day. And I drove home. And I sort of a bit embarrassed about that, really. But it was just, the hoil wasn't, the hoil is a Welsh term, but the fun wasn't there. And and when you're with a group, it would commit me to stay there. It would commit me to take part. Whereas on your own, you can just slide away, really, can you?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. It is hard. It is hard playing new people. You'd look at the list they make a draw every turn. You'd look at a list on the wall, and you think, oh, who's this guy now? Then Johnny Watson. What's he going to be like? Do you know what I mean? What's he gonna be Complete like? Gamer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, seldom were. They were always really good for the most part. But it was just, or if you'd have a bad experience, or you'd get absolutely trounced, and it would just leave a bad taste in your mouth. But like I say, I think I was in it more for the weekend away than the actual game in. Although I did win some trophies, and I got a couple of second places in some quite big tournaments, but more through luck than anything else. But yeah.
Or playing Lisbon. Who
I can remember. I took
one. Can you lose?
I took one, and we used to do a big one in Bristol called the Bristol Brawl. And I took this because I always as well. I have no idea how to create really competitive armies, but I took an army just full of night goblins, load of night goblins, and. I don't know how it happened. I must have played like an 8-year-old or something. I smashed it. When I went through, and there was one guy. He just kept coming up to the table and he was going like, "What the hell have you brought here? You've brought trolls and night goblins. You're just taking a piss, mate. Right? This is just the worst army I've ever seen." Right? I was going, "Yeah, but I enjoy it." And the last game on the last day was an army swap game. So you had an opponent, and you literally had to swap army and use each other's army. And I drew him, right? And he had my night goblin army, and he was like, "I can't believe I've got this. I can't believe I've got this." And he put it all in the corner, right? Just literally in the corner, and he was going to play for a draw. And I had a tree man, and I just moved it up, terror tests, and they all run off. Right? I came back into the tournament with my night goblins. It was unbelievable. Really.
Amazing.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Good fun. Good fun.
Yeah, good memories, mate. That's right. I just want to say, just thank you everybody who's joining us in the chat, and they're saying hello and communicating there. Independently, so it's lovely to see you here and having a good natter, and hopefully doing some splattering as well. Owen, are you actually painting anything today, mate?
I was painting then. I was painting just before we got in there, and I started.
Right.
Oh, hang on, I've just found the comments. I found them now. Look, I'm
There you go, mate. There you are.
gas.
He's the way he's going now.
Oh, bam, look at me go! Look at me go! Look at the man go! I have a part of my thing as well. I came to the conclusion that I was just spending so much money on figures and not using them. Right, and you look through here, and it's just thousands of figures. So it won't last long. But I made a pledge that I was only going to paint figures that I already had. And I wasn't going to buy anything because I'm a little bit floundering a bit. But I just went and I got hold of. I was talking to Josh about this before, but just a load of these sort of pre-slaughter orcs from many, many years ago. Wow. I'm not much of a painter, but I stripped them all down and I painted them all. I finished the last 3 just before we came on air here. But my ambition with them is I'm going to create a narrative game, probably a Rangers of Shadowdeep type thing, where I've got they're called the Orcs of Cripple Peak. And literally, they live in a tower. I've just found this amazing old dark elf sorceress, which she's going to lead them. And I'm painting some Frostgrave soldier figures that I've got, which I'm going to use as the party coming against them or trying to retake this town that's in the mist-covered slopes of this old snowy mountain where these orcs live. And I'm just going to go back to basics, a real sort of old school fantasy game where, I was thinking, what rules shall I use? I'll just do like Rangers of Shadowdeep or something like that and do some solo gaming with them and film them probably. And just do some voiceovers for it and try and tell a good story, I think. And,
that'd be really cool.
Mate.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed them. What I found was that, they can be quite a lot of hard work because there were a couple of occasions where I'd play a Rangers, I'd film a Rangers of Shadowdeep game that will take me 2 hours, only to realise that I hadn't pressed record, and that type of thing. So
that happens.
One too many whiskies, mate.
I did a whole playthrough of the Fighting Fantasy book, The Warlord of Firetop Mountain once, and it took me about 3 hours, and it hadn't recorded. So, but that's just the perils of this type of game, isn't it?
Yeah. You had to be there, basically.
Yeah. But that's my intention anyway. I'm going to create a background. I'm going to create a story. I'm going to create a world. And also, I know this is a little bit sentimental, really, but some of my earliest figures were these Harbath's Black Mountain Boys, which were a regiment of renown back about 84, I would say. And I would have been about 10 or 11 at the time, and I was an awful painter and really frustrated, and my mother painted them for me, right? And
bless her.
My mum has painted them, and they're up in the cabinet behind me. This is just one of them. I've got about 20 of them. And I still keep them in the cabinet. But as part of this pre-slaughter orcs, I found a load of these figures as well. So I've been painting them, to try and get them up to very similar to what not similar to what my mum did, but just to have the ones that my mum did, and then to have the ones that I'm doing, 40 years later is just, I don't know.
It's a beautiful little story, isn't it?
It is, and my mum's still with me and everything, but it was just for her to do. I can remember her doing it with the older, old enamel tin pot paints. So and I
you have to recruit her in, paint them for you to get them to look the same.
No, she's never understood it. She's like, I can't believe you're still into those little soldier things.
You're a grown man, for Christ's sake.
A grown man. But it was a nice thing. So as part of that has come from this orc thing, really, which is nice. So but good. All good.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. Excellent, nice.
Oh, and I wanted to thank you. You've saved me from the Crown of Command, because I've moved over from Crown of Command to listening to your Time Between Times.
Good choice, mate. Good choice.
Yeah, I can say the production's so much better.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
Don't let that on, Johnny. You got to say the Crown of Command, mate. Crown of Command's the best.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean the other way around. No, they've been absolutely fantastic to listen to. Question I'm sure you get this asked all the time. Where do you get the stories from? I know that obviously you're very Welsh folklores and stuff like that, but do you just know them off by heart, or do you read these things from books? Or
it all comes from Jonny, right? I'll get to. It all comes from, right? I've been a storyteller probably for about 30 years. Okay, I've performed as a storyteller. I've been really lucky. Again, I've done it across the Atlantic. I've done it on television. I've done quite a lot. I've done a few shows in Edinburgh and the Fringe. And again, back in the pandemic, I was in the police at the time. And what I found was I was spending a lot of time at home because the job I was doing. I was training new recruits, and I was doing a lot of this sort of Zoom training or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had to think, and I thought, I'm telling this, and I had been telling the same, say, 5 stories over and over again. Whenever I did a show, whenever I spoke with someone, I had a bank of about 5 stories that I knew really well, and I would pull one of those out and I would tell the story. So I thought in the pandemic, I was going to challenge myself. And what I did, the chair behind me there, I thought, right, I'm just going to film myself every week sitting in the chair. I had no idea how to do these things. I got my iPad, I put it on a tripod, and I literally told those 5 stories. But I give myself a challenge to put a new story out every week and then learn new stories and do it every week. And it was small and but it slowly grew. I was putting a story out, and the next day, like 20 people had listened to it, or 30 people had listened to it. And people were coming back to me and going, oh, this is good. And I got enthused about it. And I just started looking at more stories. But what I did, this is basically the Bible for folklore in the UK, okay? Right. It's called the Reader's Digest, Folklore, Myths and Legends of Britain. And it's a book from the 1970s, right? And it is just absolutely rammed full of bits of folklore, okay? So on this page here, you've got Ipswich, Early in the 19th century, a Suffolk wise woman who went by the name of Old Winter practiced white magic at Ipswich. And there'll be a little couple of lines, right? There'll be a few lines. Yeah. So I challenged myself. I'd grab one of those every week and I just expand it. I'd name the characters. I'd put something a little bit extra in. But I'm really lucky. I'm quite dyslexic, so I don't read very well. But I can sort of
read bloody well to me.
I can like picture in my mind, and I would just try and challenge myself to tell the story. And as it went on, I was doing the videos every week, and the videos were successful, and the videos were fine. But I think a podcast would be a better medium for this. Yeah, and you wouldn't have to look at my face every week as well, which was kind of nice. And I was going through a bit of a tough patch actually, and I ended up in the police rehabilitation centre in a place called Goring-on-Thames, which is down on the near Oxford. I was there for 2 weeks as a patient, and while I was there, I just got my laptop out. This laptop, and I recorded one of my stories as a 20-minute podcast. But I've always found that there's a well-being element to what I do, in that you may have noticed by listening to Time Between Times, it's always the same. Okay, it starts off with we're going to the fire pit. Let's describe the way that we go.
Yep, you come out the door and
out the door, up into the woods, the fire, the friends are there, all this type of thing.
Yeah,
and when I was putting it together, I was thinking, this is really boring. I'm not going to listen to this. This is really boring because it's always the same. But all the feedback I was getting was from people going, I love this because it's always the same. Because when I'm listening to it, it puts me in the mood for where I'm going.
I think you've fallen upon something that you're channeling people's minds slowly deep into the story, and then the story happens. So they're deep in thought with you. So it's almost like a hypnosis state as such, because you're going through that process, aren't you? You go through the door, you go down here, you're doing this. It's the same procedure every time, and then you get hit with the story.
Exactly. It was all about how to get into like a meditative state almost, and that use the story as a form of sort of well-being, sort of relaxation. And that all of a sudden, boom, it started to go up, when I started sort of doing that way. And then all of a sudden it became far more successful. And it was all about sort of putting together the well-being aspect with the storytelling. And that's where it went really. And although it's still, a relatively small podcast, it's been great to me. And if you're listening at the moment, you might have realized a couple of months back, I was putting a podcast out every week, and it was like about a 20-minute podcast every week, and that was fine. But I was finding that sometimes I would literally just pick this up find a story and go right bang, numbers, boom, tell the story, just from the time I was given. But I thought, no, what I'm going to do is I put it on hold, although I did put an episode out last week, until September. But from September, I'm not going to do a 20-minute show every week. I'm going to do a 1 hour show every month.
Yeah.
And I've already recorded up until Christmas. So
Okay,
I've already got them in the bank.
Oh, right.
And what that's going to encompass is I do 3 types of show, really. 90% of the show are the story, but I also do some interviews now and again. And I also do some of them which are just meditative listens, where you just lay back and listen to the story. But in the new episodes, there's all that. So there's a story, there's an interview, and there's a meditation. And all right. So and they're all about an hour long, and I've done 4 of them now. So
and the interviews, are they sort of people within the folklore world, or
they are? Yeah, they tell me where this has taken me quite a lot. It's taken me into the world of sort of the supernatural, if you like. In a bit of a I got to know a group of friends who are all involved with. Have you heard of the show Uncanny with Danny Robbins? It's
Uncanny.
Uncanny. It's a podcast called Uncanny, which is a real ghost story sort of podcast where he every week he goes in and he he'll find someone will tell him a story about when they lived in a haunted house and they'll investigate that story. And it's huge. It blew up. And it's now got its own television series as a stage show. If you go on BBC Sounds, it's there. It's called Uncanny. Okay. And the guy who runs that is a guy called Danny Robbins, and he's become a bit of a celebrity. But again, about the same time in life, strange, isn't it? That around that pandemic time, I started listening to Uncanny, and then I got in with a group of friends who were all fans of that, but we're all into the sort of folklore world or the book publishing world or the podcast world around sort of paranormal podcasts and things like that. So most of the people I've interviewed so far, anyway, have
that makes sense.
Is a lady called Natalie Doig, who I know, who runs a podcast called Weird in the Wade, which is on BBC Sounds. The Reverend Peter Laws, who is a minister, but who's also a bit of a ghost hunter type, who has got a podcast called Into the Mist, which is really, really successful. And a lady called Deborah Hyde, who is the paranormal expert for This Morning, the big UK show, that's on in the mornings. So I've interviewed those 3, and I've got another one lined up as well.
Fantastic.
But they're all friends of mine now, really, which has been really nice. It's been really nice.
No, definitely. And you're right. It does. As soon as you said the ghost, you can't really have your folklores without some form of ghost or something like that. The paranormal coming into it. That's obviously that's what they're about, isn't it? At the end of the day. So you fit into that world perfectly.
Yeah, and I find that if I put the word ghost in a title, I get a lot more listeners. But the ghost stories tend to be really popular. I know there's a couple in the chat here. The Hartlepool monkey story, I don't think it's in this book, but I know the story about the monkey being hanged. Yeah, so I do know that it might be there, but I don't think it is. But there we are. Yeah, so there's that one as well. There we go.
Actually, we've got a question from Sci-Fi. And it was one of the first ones that came up, actually, so I thought I'd just say it because it would probably get hidden otherwise. But he says, this is obviously to Owen, he says, have you noticed stories from other areas, I'm assuming these means not in Wales, that have the same substance, gist, moral, but with different characters?
Absolutely. Do you know, it's funny how you should say that, in that the episode I'm now putting together with Deborah Hyde is exactly about that, about how there are stories all around the world that are essentially the same story, but going back even when times when those communities weren't even in contact, which is a really strange thing, but it's a thing that happens. There's a really famous Welsh story called the story of Gelert, which a lot of you might know. It's a story where the Prince Llewellyn, he really, in a really bad parenting way, leaves his baby under the care of a dog, and he goes out and he comes back and he finds the dog has eaten the baby. The faithful dog, so he kills the dog in a fit of temper, as you would, only to discover that under the bed there's a dead wolf, and the dog has been protecting the baby from a wolf. and it's a heartbreaking story. He's killed the dog, and there's a place in North Wales called Bedd Gellet, Gellet's grave, where this is a folkloric thing, but the it's the grave of the dog Gellet. And it's a really famous, really sad story, and most people sort of know it, right? I mean, if you tell that story, they go, "Oh yeah, the Gellet story."
Yeah,
but there's an exact version of that from Argentina, right? Or exact. Funny enough, there's a version of it in Japan, right? There's all these sort of ways where the names are different, but the story is exactly the same.
How about that?
So yeah, it's really strange, but it happens. There's a really famous one about King Arthur and his sleeping knights. Just up the road from me, there's a place called Craiganos, where King Arthur and his knights apparently are asleep in there, waiting for the time when Wales calls for them to do their duty, etc. Right. But they're also in Alderley Edge up by Nottingham, and they're also in these other So and it's the same story where someone comes across them and thinks, "Oh, and they're there," So it is an unusual thing, but it does happen a lot.
Yeah, that is very unusual. Good question, Sci-Fi. Thank you for that one.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, guys.
It's a deep question, really.
Yeah.
Just seeing if there's any more in there.
Okay, while you have a look at that, mate, I'm going to share the podcast that Owen does have, which is the Time Between Times with Owen Staton. So there you go. If you want to check out a fantastic podcast, much better than the Crown of Command, according to Jonny, then please go to...
better than the Crown of Command.
Second by Owen.
I'll sort you out, Owen. Don't you worry.
No worry. Yeah.
Oh, better than Josh.
Can I tell everyone as well? In my
under the table payments here, I think. Yeah, under the table.
In my hiatus from the summer hiatus I've taken, I've started a Substack as well. I don't know if any of you use Substack. It's a blogging site where you can put voice notes, you can put videos, you can put written bits and bobs on there. And I've started a Substack called Time Between Times with Owen Staton. And in that, I've done loads of writing where I talk about ghost stories, for example. I talk about experiences I've had. I've talked about mental health. I've talked about places I visited, and I try and put out a Substack every week. And sometimes it's a voice story. Sometimes it's a video, and most of the time it's just something written. But that's been quite successful as well. But anyone who wants to have a look at that, I'd really appreciate it.
Cool. Okay, mate. Okay. Substack is something new to me, but I know you're on it. So
it's good. It's a very good platform. Very good platform.
Go and check it out. All right. So that's Owen's Time Between Times, his storytelling podcast. So I urge you to go and check it out. Some wonderful stories in there. So please do that. Okay. Lots of ghost stories. And also Owen is contributing a lot to my own podcast here at the Crown of Command. Now, I don't think you can see it. Hang on a tick. Let me just check that. Let me check that. Share this tab instead. Here we go. So you should be able to see it now. And we've just released, as of yesterday, part 4 of Owen's sort of retrospective or readings of the Warhammer 5th edition battle book. So there's 4 segments to that. And there's another one that there it is. And there's another one on its way. So Owen said it might have been like a 30-minute or an hour read, but it's turned into like hours and hours and hours of wonderful listening content.
I've got such a love-hate thing with this book now. I thought, right, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this. Funny enough, Josh, right, when we first started talking, I thought, right, I'd better get back into learning how to play 4th or 5th edition. So I ordered the book off eBay, the old rule book, and that's what came, right? That's what came. Right? So I've never really, it's no good on its own, this, is it really? But, I picked it up recently. I thought, oh, yeah, this will be a nice little episode. I'll just read through this. I'm now 5 hours into the thing. Do you know right? And I'm still like my page is turned down, the dark elves, they're ready to carry on,
Oh, so, there you go, mate, the dirty dark elves. Okay. All right, so if you're going to listen to that, there's hours of content on there, and Owen also did hours and hours, and also Owen very kindly, as a suggestion from one of my mates and patrons, actually, for the Warhammer Chaos Dwarves deep dive. Owen did some wonderful little segments in there that I've put into places within that 2-hour long deep dive of the the Chaos Dwarves, which have been really, really lovely. I really like the Hobgoblin.
I was about to mention it, the one who came out like a Brummy. That one, though.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah, that was really good. I really like that a lot. So, there's loads of stuff in there that you guys can have a look at and listen to right now at the Crown of Command podcast. Some people don't even know we have a podcast. So there you go.
Wow.
There's hours of content in there.
That's interesting, isn't it?
To enjoy. All right. So also, because I know we're sort of limited on time because Owen's only got like an hour to share with us this evening, and we had to start a little bit later than usual because Owen's going to get me out of bed at 3:30 in the morning. So I said no. I'm going at 4:30. You were very kind, mate. You had to hang on to that whiskey for a while until you got to it. So I'm sorry about that, mate. But we've got one more thing to go through. And it will feature Lizardmen, so you've been warned. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to go through the community slides here from YouTube community. Now, Owen, I think you should have one of these too, or Jonny. I'm not sure. I don't know what and how it sort of unlocks or enables you to do it. Maybe you need so many views of subscribers. I'm not sure. But there is now a YouTube community section. So if you go onto your app on your phone or tablet, you go to your platform of choice, like the person you're subscribed to. There should be a community button. You click on that and you can post your own stories, you can post your own photographs, and it's been really nice to see people like Owen and many others jump on that and share with us their hobby, which has been really lovely for me to see because I want to see what you guys are up to. So let's without further ado, let's get on to that and have a look to see what people have been doing. So we've got Historical Doppelgang. I know he's in the chat, mate. So how you going? Thank you very much for your contributions with this lovely Mech Boy Gargant with now completed banner.
Look at that banner. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well done. That's great. Yep. What a great banner that is.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, we did say last time he was going to have the biggest banner ever, didn't we? And now it's there.
Yeah. It's there now for all to see.
I like the pot of paint for scaling purposes as well. Look at that.
Yeah. So if you want that blue, there you go. Thousand Suns blue. We'll get you there, mate.
Yeah, it looks really good.
So, yep, thank you very much for your contributions, and hope to see more of the epic orcs as it unfolds and gets painted over the coming months. What have we got next? Oh, yes. Brodier Chris with his wood elves.
Now, you embarrassed yourself with these a few months back, Josh, and I hate to bring it up again.
No?
But you were started talking about Scarlocks, Wood Elves, Archers, and you were all over the place. The guy with the hair is Glam the Laughing Warrior. That is Scarlock there with the bow and the sword, you know?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, they're all elves to me. I mean, they all look the same. So
I know. But yeah. What a great set they were. I can remember.
Yeah.
I go back to old stories now, but they brought out these offers back in the late 80s where, at the time, it was like about 30, 40 quid. And you get like 100 figures all based on different themes. And there was a Wood Elf theme, and my friend bought it. And they just sent him about 150 Scarlocks Wood Elf Archers. It was just a big pile of those, all the same, you know? But now, at the time, we were cursing them, but they're worth a fortune now. They're fantastic figures.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's got him based up ready for Old World as well, by the looks of things.
Yes, indeed, on those wider sort of bases.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's good to see as well. So what I like about that, right? He's got options now. He can play Old Warhammer and Old World, which is good. I think I never understand these people who take their models off and then put them into the bigger. Just get those movement trays. Perfect.
And is he Brodir Chris? Is he a Welsh guy? Is he Brother Chris there? That's nice to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe I embarrassed him last time because I think he put his real name on there. And he thought, oh, God, I don't want my real name posted on YouTube. So he put, I think this is the same person because last time he had the same elves. So I'm assuming it's a different account or he's changed his name on there or something like that. So could be.
Probably my friend who's still. It's probably my friend who's still painting all those elves he had back in 1988.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Could be, mate. Could be the one.
They look great, actually. They're lovely.
80 Wood. He's got some wolves. Some
terrain
hills
going.
Terrain, epic terrain. So next time you play, Jonny, with 80, you got some nice hills.
Got some hills going.
I thought he was putting together a chocolate cake or something there.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It looks very reminiscent of a chocolate cake.
Yeah, he's been busy, old 80.
Yeah, he has, mate. He has.
Some of his posts and stuff.
Yeah. So he's got one, I think, rhino camouflage in there.
For scale, maybe.
But for scale, for scale. So that's good. Here we go. Here we are. We couldn't get past the lizard.
Now we're talking. Look at the brushwork on these.
Owen, you don't own a Suzuki, do you?
Yeah, I know.
I tend to find bad cars and bad armies kind of correlate with people. So if you're a Suzuki person, then that would explain a lot.
Don't listen to him. He's just bitter. He had to paint 100 of them for Games Workshop once upon a time, and that's it. Such a bitter man. He's such a bitter man.
I picked all these up. These are quite recent. I picked these up when I say recent, in the last 5 years. I can remember. I don't know. At the time, I never had those old Saurus warriors, and I always there's something really simple about them that I really like, and I just got a thing about dinosaurs really as well. So that's where they're from. I don't know what that round base on the slan is for, but it's I
love that old slan model though. It's great, isn't it?
Oh, it is, isn't it? It's fab. And I loved the Dimetrodon figures. You know, the ones that used to spit the acid,
right?
Because that's my favorite dinosaur, right? That's my favorite dinosaur.
Jeez, that belongs in a toy shop, mate.
I know it was in a toy shop. Yeah. It goes with my Cyclops giant. Look at that, right?
Oh yes, look at him.
I used to keep that for Warhammer in the second edition, where giants were more powerful every inch tall they were. Right, so
brilliant!
Yeah,
amazing,
classic.
Yeah, well, my boy would love your lizard men. He absolutely loves dinosaurs at the moment, so he'd be right into that.
Well, if I can show you, I don't know if you can see, right? If you turn around here, I've got a collection of stuff here, and a lot of them are the old Airfix dinosaur kits.
Oh yeah, I can see. Yes.
From the 1970s, and I've got them all boxed. I've got them all boxed.
Wow.
And, I've been collecting them. I've got the full collection of them now, and I had them all as a kid, and I've recently rebought them all, and just because I love the box art and I love dinosaurs, you know.
Yeah.
Great thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you keeping them in the box?
Yeah, I am. That Dimetrodon, that one is one which is out of the box, but I've got a box version as well. I've actually built and painted that one. But I've got a really old King Kong from the 1933 film as well. So that's really good as well.
Nice collection.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I love the box art, and I saw recently on Instagram a Japanese illustrator illustrated the cover of one of the Tamiya box sets of like the military kits, like a tank, and he's there like painting everything. It's beautiful. I love all that. I mean, that's wonderful to see that. So, all right, let's move on from the Lisbon then. We had enough. You've had your show time now. Okay, so we've got some goblins. Here we go. Proper green skins, mate. There we go. So there's Matt's.
We've been watching
Matt's chat here.
Green skins grow, haven't we?
He might win the tournament with these. These will be great. Yeah.
Don't stick them in the corner.
Put them in the corner.
Yeah.
Scares them off.
So it's good to see the War grow, goblin by goblin, and then Emperor Jim. I know he's in the chat too, with some lovely contagion.
Very colourful. Lots of colours on that. They're beautiful. Well done.
Yeah,
they're great, aren't they?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Here's some more of his progress there with some more Nurgle additions.
Definitely chaos, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Great bright colours on them, though, isn't it? Look at those yellows. Yellow submarines, look at.
Yeah. Well, and also James is the person I did the latest, my first White Dwarf. I think it's 185 from memory. So that's covering a lot of the epic Tyranid stuff, epic Nids, which is his favorite faction. So if epic and Nids are your thing, then go and check that out. And I the Maelstrom. Wow. That's John, who's done this wonderful. He sort of captured the original color scheme for this great Gargant from the first edition.
I thought epic? It was first edition epic. Oh, because this one was done in the Bad Moon scheme, wasn't it? For the second edition epic. Yeah. So they had the version of this in the first edition, did they?
They did, and they had the paint schemes were sort of more wild, and they weren't sort of categorized in clans. I don't think as much. So I know there's one that's sort of painted very similar to this kind of camo.
No, it's very cool. Very
green and yellow. Yeah, I think it looks quite good. Eh? So
his arms been shot. His arms been shot off, but
yeah, he hasn't got around to putting the arms on yet. But I think it's completed now. I think
I've seen it. It is. Yeah, it looks really nice. All done. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah. So he's done a good job on that. And Big Small Worlds. I think he had to leave the chat, unfortunately, but our mate there has got some additions to his campaign. I know he posted up a video, I think yesterday, for his for the ongoing. Did he call it Tilia?
Yeah,
Tylia. I think he's called it Tylia. Tales of Tylia. So go check that out.
So Owen, he's been doing what you were sort of suggesting for a long time, hasn't he? I mean, he's been doing these narrative, storied games.
When he came on the show, I listened to the episode that Josh did with him, and it's exactly the sort of thing that I would love to do. It looks like to me he's got a really good sort of group of people who are all sort of buying into that scene.
Yeah, he does. He's got a whole gaggle of them that take part in this big adventure. I mean, it's an amazing thing they've got going on.
Oh
and he dedicated a lot of time to doing it, because not only editing those videos take a long time, but actually running the campaign as such, that must take up a lot of time as well. So I've got a lot of respect for him good on him.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah,
it's sort of a
result. Project, yeah, absolutely.
Yep,
but they look very cool.
Yeah, very cool. And Carnifex, my good mate Carnifex in Australia, he's got some alternate miniatures from hybrid miniatures. I think he was saying they're kind of like 40k alternate miniatures he bought for his stuff. So it's good to see he's on.
Yeah,
we've got stuff on the paint desk ready to prime and paint.
Carnifex.
Yep, some very early designs of the Dreadnought. I can't remember what it's called now. There's a certain name for it. And the early Terminators.
Yeah, wasn't either. That's in the Road Trader one, isn't it? Or a version of.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and finally we have a competition. So I'm now editing a wonderful 4th edition battle report. I might send the script to Owen if you would like to do that with me. Maybe collaborate on this one.
Yeah,
as our very first battle report to do for the Crown of Command. I think it'd be really interesting to see how that goes. But it's featuring the undead and dwarves, two armies I got to paint and the privilege to do so for eavylead Studios as commissions. So and now they're all boxed up, ready to be sent back today, actually, to their new owner or to their owners.
Fantastic.
And so I'm really happy to have wrapped that up with Nick and Paul through the week. And you can win this terrain that Nick built. It's really, really nice too. Beautifully decorated and painted and everything. So you just need to name what would you call this scenario between Ungrim and Heinrich Kemmler.
Nice.
So a lot of, I think maybe almost 50 entries are in now. So we're going to go and draw that out at the end of the week. So if you're lucky, maybe in the next Splatter Natter I'll announce it, or during the video I'll announce it, who the winner was going to be. Nick's going to pick one that he likes the most, and that'll be the title for the video when it's get released. So yes, if you want to enter and you want to win this terrain, put your entry in, put your comment in, send me an email, or put it into the video here on the Crown of Command community section or post section for your chance to win.
Fantastic. Is it the painted one? Yeah. That's you win the fully painted version. Or
you win. Yeah, exactly. You win this exactly what it is pictured. So Nick made it specifically for, I think, a Halloween type style game when I was doing this. When I was doing the original army, the undead army for David.
Yeah.
And I think David's actually in the chat today, so it's nice to see that he's here too. But so we did that, and I think Nick made that terrain for a game we did. And we never used it since. So I told him we're going to play Undead and Dwarves. He made a nice scenario for it, specifically for it. And he thought, I'll bring the terrain up. So that's a great idea. So I'm really glad he did now.
Quick question, Josh. Where do you post your submissions?
So if you go to my channel, which you so you go into it's like a post section. You click on posts. It'll come up as the last post on there, and then you can just type in your entry. Okay, so whatever name you want to give the scenario. So yeah, if you go into subscriptions, and you'll see it should pop up as one of the posts there. I don't really know because I'm not subscribed to my own channel kind of thing. But if you go, it should be on your feed.
You get an extra subscriber.
Yeah. So if you have a chance to win that, please enter, and then it's all packed and ready to roll. Once another address, maybe Owen's miniature will be ready. I can post it at the same time. He's been complaining about it for months and years now.
Yeah, I got set it now. I can tell. I got under the skin there, didn't I?
Just to shut him up, I'll send that at the same time.
He's given up with it, mate. He's put it down to being completely utterly lost.
Yeah,
it's never coming back.
A few years ago, we played a Christmas game online, and as a prize, there were different miniatures, and I sent them out for a couple of weeks. Every day he was emailing, "My miniature."
And if you notice in that one of the Advanced Hero Quest miniatures, that dwarf is the one of those you sent me, mate. I love that. That was beautiful.
Promptly, I sent him as well. Promptly.
Yeah. Yeah, he's all take his job.
Oh
yeah, mate, on the take, mate, on the take. Never giving away, but there will be more giveaways, I assure you, including Owen's miniatures, painted miniatures. Now he's complaining about it. I'll send those.
Well, you're going to give them away to someone else, though?
Yeah, give it. You're going to enter now, Owen.
You've got to go into your own competition and win your own.
I can't just have them anymore. I've got to actually win the competition now. Yeah.
You have to make it a storytelling competition. Yeah. He's got a chance there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching that presentation. Let me just see how we're going for time. Yeah, we've got enough time. Oh, we just reached the hour mark. Oh, and you just tell us when you want to wrap us up. But I thought maybe
5-10 minutes, mate. That's fine. No problem.
Okay, mate. Well, how about you talk about, because I think you wanted to talk about the armies you have. You got 2 armies for Warhammer. What armies are they?
Oh, well, right. I think this goes back to what I've been saying, really, is that I've been building a lot of armies, but I'm not actually playing, which is a shame. I've got, over the years, I was never much of a Lizardman player, really. Back in the 6th edition, I did have an army for a while. I played Beastmen, as you know. I love Beastmen. I have loads of Beastmen armies over the years. But since the Old World came out a couple of years ago, I bought a dwarf army, because anyone who follows Crown of Command will know about my stories about Vander, the dwarf, who is the hero from my 4th edition dwarf army. And I lost him, but hold on, if you just hang on a second, and excuse my shorts. Can I see him there? Just go on. This is very professional of me, isn't it? Here we go.
Wasn't it Timothy that sent you this one?
Yeah. That is the miniature that Vander once was. You probably remember that miniature. It's one of the Marauder dwarves from back in the early 90s. And that figure was my hero for like a decade or more. And I lost him. I don't know where he was. So anyway, when the Old World came out, and I decided to do an army based on Vander, really. But Timothy from Canada, really nice guy, good friend, he sent me his miniature, and I've done like a statue, like an old wrecked sort of carved version of Vander, which has been left there near probably Zufbar, where he tried to reclaim in the story, and that's been part of my dwarf army, which I've done for Warhammer the Old World. I've also done a Chaos army with Chaos Warriors, which is on the desk here at the side of me. And I've also got my Lizardman army, the one which you've got the pictures of there as well. So I've got 3 armies ready to go that none of them have ever taken to the field in anger, which is a bit of a shame. And I've also then got, countless Age of Sigmar armies. I've got Baron's War, I've got Burrows and Badgers, I've got Frostgrave, I've got the Rangers of Shadowdeep. I got thousands and thousands of miniatures for different game systems over the years, but all here. and probably more unpainted stuff than I ever had. If I painted a figure for a day for the rest of my life, I'd never get through them, you know. But they're all here. They're all here and all good. And they've given me so much pleasure over the years. No matter what's been going on in my life, where I am, what I'm doing, I can always turn to these. And that's something I try to get over in the podcast as well, to lose yourself in a hobby. You know, we have a laugh about it, but if you've got a hobby, you've always got somewhere to hang your hat. And that's always a good thing. You know, it's always a really good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's nice.
A bit of chi, isn't it? You can get in just zen out.
Oh, you know, these little guys, I mean, the amount of stories I've told over the years about these little guys and the amount of scrapes they've got me out of, and the amount of times I've lost myself in the adventures that these little guys do, you know, and it's hard to explain to people who don't know this or who aren't in the hobby or don't have this sort of experience. But I think you can really lose yourself in a good story, even if that story is one you're creating with the figures on the tabletop, you know.
Absolutely.
Which is brilliant, because no doubt, you know, we've all played games, haven't we, where all the night goblins run off the corner of the table, or the dwarf army that was on the hill failed 2 panic tests, and, you know, and the cannons blew up, and all those things, you can picture them in your head. And I think I said to Josh in the first video we ever did together, I think my first ever game of Warhammer was probably in 1983 in a club in Swansea. And I had a little unit of Goblin Wolf Riders which run through a river and came out on the other side of that river in that game. And I can still picture that in my head. And I don't see the figures, but I see the goblins going through the river and coming out to a ruined village. And that picture has stayed with me for 40 years, you know? And it all comes from what these guys, these little metal or plastic or lead guys, do in our own imaginations. And that's why this hobby is priceless. I think it's priceless.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah, I mean, there's got to be a reason that it sticks us to the hobby, isn't there? And it's quite often, maybe not for everyone, but quite often it is the story, it is the imagination that it takes, the absence of being in reality is just drifts you off somewhere different, and that's what captures a lot of us into playing this hobby over and over again, or painting and all the
it's
things
one of
about
the things. I was thinking this the other day. I was actually speaking to someone about this the other day. When I was playing a game of Warhammer for 2-3 hours, I thought of nothing but that game of Warhammer. And that is that's a precious thing, you know. If you can lose yourself in something so much that it takes over your mind in a positive way for just those couple of hours. And this is one of the few hobbies that can do that. It can really, you can take you to a world, whatever world you want to create. I mean, when we did those Hero Quest videos, Josh did the videos, I've done the voice. They are stories now. The games are not really, whatever happened in the game is fine, but those videos are now adventures. They're stories that people know, and those characters that people remember, and that's really important. I think it's really important, you know. And you may play 10 games of Warhammer and not really have much. You know, when you go to a tournament, the games will be much more business-like, I find. But when you sit back, you have a beer, or you have a friend over, you play a game, nice pace, nice scenery, painted models, you create wonders. You know, the story is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that is the beauty of the hobby. Totally agree. I totally agree.
You know, because you can spend hours painting the figures here, but unless you know, I'm not saying you have to name the figures, but each of these figures tells a story. That's why that little dwarf metal miniature is so precious to me, because Vander, you know, he was my guy like for 10 years, and the stories that would come up about him. That's why he deserves his own statue, is because of that. and these orcs, you know, the ones my mum painted, you know, they used to lead these in the battle. I had a kid when I was first learning the game on my bedroom floor, you know, with like cardboard cutouts, and having these was like, I remember I bought these in 1987. I can remember that. No, before that, in 1980, was it 84? I went on a trip to London to watch Wales play rugby in Twickenham. Right, and my mother gave me a tenner right, to buy myself food and everything when I wasn't in the game. But at the end of the game, everyone had a couple of hours, and I rushed the Hammersmith to the first ever Games Workshop store and spent £9 on these. Right, I was starving to death on the way home, but I had 2 boxes of Orcs, which I've still got now. You know?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah,
they've lasted longer than a Big Mac, haven't they?
Oh
so
my God,
Yeah.
You know, that food is long forgotten, but the Orcs are still on the shelf. You know,
it's absolutely.
So that's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, wonderful.
But that's a story in itself, isn't it? That, you know, we all remember the first time we bought. You know, that's where my first White Dwarf and things like that is so important, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal, you know, when you get into the hobby and you learn these things and you see these things. And you know, like looking at Josh there with all the Man of War stuff on the wall behind you, it's all nostalgia, Josh, isn't it? You know, you remember that you came to the UK because of that, you know, and that's just a big deal,
mate,
isn't it? So there we go.
Absolutely, mate. Still in it.
Yeah.
Up to my armpits with it. I've got so many boxes now, mate. I can send you a few boxes if you like. With your miniatures in, that might be a good idea. That'd be good.
For that one,
yeah, there you go, mate. There you go.
That years ago. Yeah, it's nice. But yeah, lovely stuff.
Lovely. Yeah. Well, Owen, it's been absolutely wonderful, mate. Look, I'll let you go because I know you only had an hour or so to spare with us, and you're almost at the end of your whiskey, mate. So it must be.
I have. You've been watching me look with envy here, and you look at that.
Leave a few drops to the dog, mate. Give some to the dog before you go to bed. All right?
Yeah.
And put him to sleep.
Yeah,
but look, appreciate your time, mate. I really, because I don't get a chance to talk to you, mate. This is the only chance I get to talk to you.
In the chat, someone asked me if that was the Ray Harryhausen Sinbad and the Centroid of Sinbad Cyclops, and it is that. I can show you that as well. So,
what's it made out of? Is that actually plastic, or is it?
It's like a resin, kit. That is. It's what they used to call a garage kit. Years ago, you'd have these resin kits, which were almost like made in people's garages, essentially. But good stuff. Good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we'll have to have you back on sometime, mate, because it's like I said, it's the only time I get to get a chat with you, and it's been years since we last chatted. So
I know. And if anyone would love to, if anyone wants to have a listen to Time Between Times and let me know what they think about that, and anyone who wants to subscribe to the Substack, I'd really appreciate that as well. That'd be great.
Yeah, it reminds me the links. Yeah, sorry, the links are in the video description, so just go to the links in the video description here. And Owen's links are the first thing you'll see. Okay, so you can go and click on those and be redirected to some good stories out there. Sorry, Jonny, what were you going to say?
What was that, John? Wax on?
No, that's my new my signature moves, mate. Wash on, wash off.
Yeah.
I do that to paint the miniatures. See, it's a spell.
I thought it was. Yeah, it was. I was lost. It's been lovely being on you guys. It's lovely to
thanks, man. Thanks for coming.
And yourself, Jonny, as well. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, and yourself. Well, I'm off to go and listen to the Time Between Times before I go to bed.
You do that. No, yeah. Everyone says to me, it sends me to sleep. I'm thinking, is that a good thing or bad?
It should be terrifying to people, shouldn't it? A little
backhanded compliment,
isn't it? Yeah. It's in this sort of magical world.
I know. Take care, my friends.
Well, all right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody in the comments. I really appreciate it. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. It's only a short one today, but it's a short and sweet one. Thanks, Jonny. Thanks, Owen, for your time and for coming on today. And we'll catch you again sometime later. Thank you very much. Good night.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.